Call the meeting to order. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. All members are present. We will now, first thing, do the swearing in of our new police chief, Joe Jensen. Joe, would you want to come to the front, please?
Okay. Raise your hand and repeat after me. I, Joseph Jensen,
I, Joseph Jensen,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that on my honor I will never betray my integrity,
that on my honor I will never betray my integrity,
my character, or the public trust.
my character, or the public trust.
I will always have the courage to hold myself and others accountable
Always have the courage to hold myself and others accountable
for our actions.
for our actions.
I will always maintain the highest ethical standards
I will always maintain the highest ethical standards
and uphold the values of my community and the agency I serve.
and uphold the values of my community and agency I serve.
I will support the Constitution of the United States
I will support the Constitution of the United States
and of the state of Minnesota
and of the state of Minnesota
and the city code of Sauk Center,
and the city cul-de-sac center,
and faithfully discharge the duties of Chief of Police
and faithfully discharge the duties of chief of police
to the best of my judgment and ability.
to the best of my judgment and ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll move on. Approval of the agenda. We will make one change on the agenda. We will be moving 6A, the city 2023 audit report, from its normal position up to right now, after we approve the agenda with that change. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Heidi, we have a second by Diane. Is there any other changes? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. City 2023 audit report.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. I'm Miranda Wentland with Clifton Larson Allen, joining you this evening to present the results of the 2023 financial statement audit. In front of you this evening, you have two documents, the audited financial statements as well as the audit presentation. This is the information that I will be presenting. So I'll start with a brief introduction, then go through the communications that are required by audit standards. Then we'll take a look at the audit results, and then we'll wrap up with the financial results. So starting on page 3, the audit team consisted of myself, Chandler Bacon, as well as 4 audit associates. We performed the audit the week of March 18th, and we had 1 on-site day, and the rest of the audit was performed remotely. We finalized and issued the audit and dated it April 17th. Our responsibility as auditors is to express an opinion on the fair presentation of the financial statements. We do that by applying a risk-based audit approach. That means we don't look at every financial transaction the city enters into. Instead, we focus on accounts that have significant balances or a lot of activity running through the account. We design our audit to confirm balances with third party whenever possible. So that would be the cash and investment balances, long-term debt, and any payments received from another government. We also take a look at the council minutes, and we're reviewing for key financial transactions to make sure that they've been properly accounted for and reported within your financial statements. We do a comparison of current to prior year, current to budget, and we also select samples of certain accounts. We select general disbursements, and then we're looking at some of the receipts that came in throughout the year for proper classification and just to make sure that they're properly supported. So after we've performed our procedures, we're comfortable in expressing an opinion on the financial statements. The city also hires us to draft the financial statements as part of the audit. In this year's financial statements, note 1 to the financials outlined the significant accounting policies used by the city. You'll see one change this year is the city implemented GASB 96 around subscription-based IT agreements. An evaluation was performed by management, and we noted that the standard did not have a material impact on this year's financial statements. It was properly implemented. So as we performed our procedures, it is not uncommon for us to propose GAAP adjustments to the financial statements to get them properly reported in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. This year, we only had one adjustment, and that related to the timing and recognition of one receipt it's an intergovernmental payment of $164,000. It was properly recorded as receivable as of the end of the year, but since it wasn't received within 60 days after year end, we moved it from revenue into a deferred revenue account, so it'll be recognized as revenue in 2024. The financial statement disclosures were deemed adequate, clear, and complete. We had no disagreements with management performing the audit, and management provided us with a representation letter at the conclusion of our audit. We are not aware of any other consultations with other accountants related to the 2023 audit matters, and no issues other than our normal planning were discussed with management prior to our retention as auditors. There were no difficulties in performing this year's financial statement audit. The financial statements do include the audits of the Sauk Center HRA and the Sauk Center PUC, and we are relying on the independent audits that are performed for those entities. So page 8, the overall results. We issued an unmodified opinion on the financial statements. That's the highest level of assurance we can provide as independent accountants. In the audit, we also perform a review of internal controls, and if we identify weaknesses, we are responsible for communicating those with council. So we've got 3 items to report here, which is not uncommon for a city of this size. These are the same 3 findings I report on every year to almost every council that I work with. So the first is limited segregation of duties due to the small size of the city and the finance department. The lack of controls over financial reporting, that's an inherent risk in us preparing the financial statements because we're not here on a daily basis. We might miss something. We do feel that that risk is mitigated with Vicki and Jacqueline's review of the financial statements, but we are required to report that as a finding. And then the last one here is that material audit adjustment related to that grant receivable. We did a Minnesota legal compliance review around accounting matters, and we had no findings to report. The city did not spend more than $750,000 in federal expenditures, so there was no single audit requirement this year. All right, next we'll look at the financial results. We've got a couple graphs prepared for you. Page 10 summarizes your cash balances in 2 different categories. The first set of bars here is your general fund, and the second set is all of the other governmental funds combined. Total cash balance as of 12/31/23 came in at $13.1 million. That's up about $500,000 or 4% from the prior year. We saw a decrease in the general fund of about $140,000. General fund represents about 12% of your total cash, and an increase of about $659,000 in the other governmental funds. Page 11 is the fund balances. We focus primarily on the general fund as the chief operating fund of the city. Total fund balance came in about $1.9 million, of which 1.2 million of that is unassigned. So one of the financial measures of performance or health of the general fund is the number of months of expenditures that are available in your fund balance. We typically like to see 3 to 5 months, and the city's was at 3.6 for 2023. So overall healthy fund balance within your general fund. Page 12 summarizes your revenues by category. Overall revenue came in at $9.6 million, which is down about $2.3 million from the previous year. And that's primarily in the other revenues category. 2022 saw significant reimbursements from other governments on joint projects. No similar activity in 2023. Intergovernmental revenue was up about $500,000. Special assessments were down $265,000. And taxes were up about $200,000 for a net change of $2.3 million from prior year. Page 13 is a breakdown of expenditures by function. Overall expenses came in at $10.6 million. That's down about 5 million from the previous year, and you'll see based on the bars here, majority of that decrease is in your capital spending. Second Street and Industrial Park were significant expenditures in 2022. Overall capital for 2023 came in about 3.5 million. The other categories were fairly consistent, ranging from 1% to 3% increases over the prior year, with the exception of public safety, that was up about 176,000 or 6%, and debt service was up about 5% or 150,000. Overall, your expenditures across the city did exceed revenues by about 964,000 for the year. Looking at the general fund on page 14, general fund revenues did exceed expenditures by 661,000. From this, 427,000 was transferred to capital project funds, leaving the general fund with a positive change in fund balance of 238,000. All right, page 15, we've summarized some of the activity in your other governmental funds that are reported as major within the financial statements. You'll see beginning balances, revenues, expenses, other financing sources, and then ending fund balance for each category or each fund here. The other financing column represents transfers to the capital project fund. So transfers from other funds into your capital project fund this year totaled 1.8 million. All right, page 16, just a couple highlights on those other major governmental funds. Your tax increments financing fund had a change in fund balance of about 18,000, and 7,000 was transferred out of the TIF fund to close TIF 1.6 or 1-16. Capital project fund total expenditures this year is 2.6 million, and that's primarily split between two projects. And your debt service fund has an ending fund balance of 6.6 million. The audit has concluded. The financial statements in front of you this evening are final. The last piece to get things wrapped up for state auditor reporting is to complete the state auditor's form, and that'll be completed by the June 30 deadline.
Okay.
Are there any questions?
Questions, comments? Finance Committee, Heidi and Joe looked this over before.
Yep.
Everything looked fine?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll then move on to approval of the minutes of the April 8th and April 17th meetings. Is there any changes, corrections needed within those minutes? I do have one on page 7 of the April 17th meeting. The seal coat bidding, it has Aztec listed, but it doesn't have the price that they, so we just need to get that put in that, fill in the blank on that one.
Yep.
Everybody see that?
Yep.
Okay. Is there any other changes or corrections needed within those two sets of minutes? Hearing nothing, do I have a motion to approve the April 8th and April 17th
Motion.
minutes?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Diane, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Joe. Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5 in favor, none against. This now brings us to our public open forum. We don't have any public hearings tonight, so public open forum, anyone that would like to speak to the council can. You'll each get 3 minutes to make your statement. We will not be answering questions or getting into debates on anything that happens during the public open forum. State your name and
I'm Pamela Borgen, 600 Main Street South, Sauk Center. I'm the Executive Director of the Convention and Visitors Bureau. Our mission is to advertise for Sauk Center and attract visitors to our community for events, tours, meetings, and to stay at our hotels, short-term rentals, and campground. This is in response to the City of Sauk Center staff report for the City Council meeting of tonight, May 1st, 2024. As stated in the description, the council may have a seat on the CVB board. In light of our attorney Pat Plunkett's informational email yesterday, I will encourage our board to amend our bylaws, Amendment Number 2, Section 1.2, to state that one of the directors shall be appointee of the City Council representing the City of Sauk Center on the CVB board. As stated, the city thought the Convention and Visitors Bureau rationale for changing the bylaws was our board felt the city was trying to control our board. This is an email I received from Mayor Stone in that regard, as I question why I wasn't contacted about questions the council had about a candidate to the CVB board. His response was this, and I quote, "Sorry you feel you were disrespected, but the council has every right to question applicants or have concerns. The Visit Sauk Center board has never been given the authority to screen applicants before coming to the council, and it has been happening, and it will stop. To remind you, the council has the oversight of your board because all monies go through us. If anything, the council should feel disrespected by your board by even thinking you might have the power to dictate to us, and may have to look closer at your board's actions and have the books audited. Have a good day. Warren Stone, Mayor." We are a freestanding 501c3 nonprofit organization that is not controlled by any entity other than the CVB board and the Minnesota Statute of Nonprofits. By appointing all the directors to the CVB board, the city does control the board and is in conflict of interest. We are fortunate that over $833,000 has been collected in lodging tax over the years to promote our community, hotels, short-term rentals, campgrounds, tours, events, and meetings. The 5% retained by the city from the lodging tax is the maximum amount allowed by law according to the Minnesota statute. This city has retained over $41,000 during this period for administrative costs. We are fortunate to have a lodging tax to promote Sauk Center without the citizens paying for it. City council members have requested more transparency of how the CVB money is spent. Currently, 3 active council members who have been on our board, plus the mayor, and one currently on our board, they have been a part of all of our budget discussions, and since I've been executive director, the budget for the CVB has passed unanimously each year. Not once has a council person ever asked a question about how the funds were spent. I have given annual reports to the city council, and not one council person has asked where the funds are going to. They are all brought to each meeting, and everybody is welcome to look and take copies. Audits are conducted and documentation of these audits are kept. The CVB does grant monies to entities in Sauk Center for advertising and is perfectly legal. Many of these events bring visitors into Sauk Center to stay in our hotels, short-term rentals, and campground. In closing, why not work together to achieve our common goal, making Sauk Center a destination for tourism?
Thank you. Is there anyone else? State your name, please.
Hi, my name is Pam Durbin, manager of the American in Sauk Center, 1230 Timberlane Drive, and also current president of the CVB. I guess I just wanted to say that back in 2006, well, I've been at American since 1999. Back in 2006, my owner, Nick Clares, and I had a vision of starting the CVB, or the lodging tax, and it took quite a bit to kind of convince some of the other hotels to do this, but it really, honestly, has been a really great thing, and I'm really proud that, we had that goal in mind, to do this, to promote the city as a destination for visitors, tours, and meetings, and to benefit our entire city with its advertising money collected from the lodging tax. I have checked with, we have a management company that has properties across Minnesota that also has the CVB, and they also have employees sitting on their local CVB boards, all of which their own board members do the appointing, but the appointing is not done by the city, it's done by the CVB board. I just kind of checked with some that I work with. We want to work with the city, and I feel like we all have the same common goal. We want to work with the city, we want to appoint our own board. Of course, we encourage a council member to be on our board. The Visitors Bureau plans on continuing to provide our annual reports. We're a self-standing nonprofit organization, not a committee. I'm just asking that the decision is not to rescind the lodging tax. I feel we worked so hard to get to where we're at. Doing this would have drastic effects on the hotels, businesses, and the tourism activity. Just ask that we work together. I believe we all have the same goal in mind. As you can have all heard, the tax has brought in over $800,000 to promote our beautiful city of Sauk Center. So, thanks.
Thank you.
My name is Joanne Thorson. My husband and I, Wayne and I own the Gopher Prairie Motel, now the Gopher Prairie Inn, for 43 years and 4 months. I didn't count the days and minutes, but it was a good business. We enjoyed it. When it came to us that they wanted to put in a lodging tax, we opposed it. We tried very hard not to get a lodging tax because we didn't want to have to charge our customers any more money than what they were already paying. But we found out that a lot of cities right around us all were doing lodging taxes, and we were kind of outvoted, and it didn't come to be. And when I think of all the things that's happened because we've had this money to do extra advertising for the city, and it's not costing the city any money to do this. It's all coming from people that's coming to our town to visit and enjoy our places. I think of one time back when we were fortunate enough to have the horse shows in town, and the weather turned very cold, and someone that was staying at our place came in and said, "Boy, I tell you, it got so cold, we are so glad you had that Fleet store down the street so we could buy some warm clothing." Well, this is just one example of bringing business in and the residual that comes to everybody else because they're buying gas, they're buying food, they're buying clothes, they enjoy coming. And so, to me, the lodging tax has been a great benefit. Even though I was opposed to it, I certainly think it's been a great benefit for our city. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
My name is Kelly Fries. I'm the owner of the Palmer House, 500 Sinclair Lewis Avenue, here in Sauk Center. I just kind of want to echo what Joanne said, is we had to fight really, really hard to get this. And even with her opposition, it went through, and she became part of our collective board, and we all discovered that we really had a joint passion in what we were doing. And this was so much bigger than us. This was beyond what it could do for ourselves or downtown businesses. It became very aware of how powerful these funds that we collected and the responsibility we had in how we allocated them and what was the best bang for it to get events to come to town. I can tell you with the events I do at the Palmer House, with all of the people that do them, I go over their schedules with them, and I'm on year 23 of doing this. They make a big gap in their day just so people can go downtown and go shopping. I don't go downtown that I don't have the businesses thanking me for everything our hotel guests bring to their businesses right downtown. This is powerful, powerful funding. And I think we're all very qualified and competent to be able to be managing this money and selecting people that we believe will come to be as passionate as we are about it. And I just really think we're smart enough to do this, and I think it would be an absolute tragedy if for some reason this was rescinded and we no longer had these funds to work with, because they're powerful and they make an impact. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can't say without him. All right. Good evening. My name is Stacy Michaels. I reside at 613 Lakeshore Drive. I'm the Executive Director of the Chamber of Commerce, and I'm honored to serve as a member of the CVB Board. In fact, I have served on the board with many of you, council persons, Shallon Wilbur, Heidi Leach, Diane Kelly, and Mayor Stone. In my experience and education regarding Institute for Organization Management that does a deep dive in nonprofit board management, we are unaware of any city that has the ability to make 100% of the appointments to their CVB board. It is not unusual, however, to have a council person serve on that board. The fact that the CVB board is not part of the selection process at all, being unable to add input or vet potential board members to the CVB board, is where the problem lies. I'd like to share with you information from Patrick Plunkett, attorney for the CVB, that has over 50 years of experience dealing with nonprofit law. He states, "It seems to me that the ability of this city to appoint and remove all or even a majority of the members of the CVB board constitutes too much control over the CVB and is a violation of Minnesota Statute Section 465.717. The basis for Minnesota Statute Section 465.717 was to prohibit government agencies from using a nonprofit corporation to carry on activities which the governmental activity was not permitted to do directly. The tourism tax statute allows the city to keep 5% of the lodging tax revenues and using the remaining 95% to fund a convention or tourism bureau, which will promote tourism in the city. By controlling the operations of the CVB, the city is essentially maintaining control of 100% of the lodging tax revenues. So now I ask, if the city council doesn't deem they demonstrate control, then why are we working so hard to prevent the CVB from appointing their own board? Going so far as to say an option on the table is to repeal the lodging tax, a tax that the city has also benefited from by retaining over $40,000 for the city over those years. Our city, our businesses, nonprofit organizations, and visitors have all benefited from the increased presence resulting from the marketing and advertising the CVB has done. These are some pretty great lengths to go through to retain the ability to appoint 100% of our board members. It's time we work together. It's time to come in alignment with state code, and it's time for us to do better and to do right by the community we all serve. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Stacy.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
My name is Matthew Schmitz. On June 24th, 2020, a child was interviewed at the Children's Advocacy Center in St. Cloud, Minnesota. At that interview, the child made the allegation that they were abused while in a foster home here in the city of Sauk Center. The interview lasted for over half an hour and involved the child manipulating dolls to describe the abuse for an additional 10 minutes. Although your officer, Dustin Von Walde, was present for that interview, he never investigated the allegation, nor did he even report it. In fact, no one present for that interview investigated or reported the allegation. No one even informed the child's parents that the allegation had been made. They kept it a secret. Kelly Lurkin-Tverdik was the child's social worker. She was responsible for the death of a child in Polk County before coming here to Stearns County. She and Officer Van Walde were personally responsible for placing this child in the foster home where the allegation took place. In that home was a single mother who was dating and living with 2 different men at the same time. This led the child to being witness to domestic violence, with one occasion the child having to be escorted to school by the police. So it comes to no surprise that both Officer Van Walde and Kelly Lurkin refused to report or investigate this allegation, as it would lead to questions of why they placed the child in such danger. But what they did was illegal. You cannot simply ignore an allegation of child abuse to protect yourself against litigation. In the state of Minnesota, it is against the law for a mandated reporter such as a police officer or a social worker to not report a child's allegation of abuse. Dustin Van Walde broke the law. Again, absolutely no one reported or investigated this child's allegation. They covered it up. I brought this matter to your Chief of Police, Brian Fredericks. Although he confirmed that what I was saying was true, he spent the entire conversation chuckling, laughing, and mocking me. He stated, "I don't know why you want to talk to me about this. I'm not going to do anything about it," followed by more laughter. This did not surprise me, for I knew that Brian Fredericks was already aware of the allegation, and that he also had a huge role in helping the Stearns County Attorney's Office make this allegation disappear, to protect both his officer and the Stearns County Human Services. I brought this matter to your city administrator, Vicki Willer. Her only response has been, "The child is welcome to file a complaint if they wish." I brought this matter to each and every one of you and the mayor, Warren Stone. All of you have refused to reply to emails, answer your phone calls, or take a meeting. Worse, you all refused to have an outside department come in and investigate the crime that your chief of police, Brian Fredericks, and Officer Van Walde have committed. I understand that you want to give Brian Fredericks a nice little retirement party, and you wanted to give Dustin Van Walde a promotion. And this child's allegation was inconvenient for you. But each and every one of you knew about what I'm talking about here when you gave Van Walde that promotion. I watched the meeting when one of you asked, "Does anyone have comment or concern?" And you all sat there completely silent. I'm really upset that you made me come here today. I didn't want to make this public, and now I feel like a fool. What else am I to do but beg you to have an outside department come in and investigate this matter? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Brad Kirkhoff, 908 Lilac Drive. Just wanted to come down and speak a little bit. I know there's been a lot of discussion in regards to the CVB board, certainly the tax, the lodging tax, and all of the work that's been done in regards to getting us to this point where we are today. But I want to back it up a little bit. I'd like to explain a little bit to some of even the council and current board members that may or may not have been on the board in 2007, which I was part of. This process that was put into place to evaluate whether or not the city at that time was going to move forward with a lodging tax in the CVB did not just start in 2007. It started years prior to that with different, certainly different staff, different administrators, even different councils. As a matter of fact, it was denied multiple times before it came to 2007, when that board at that time, which was Al Conan, Keith, myself, Warren, and Dave Thomas. And at that time, we also had a new administrator, Vicki Willer. And we talked specifically about what the steps would be and what the intent of that board was going to be at that time. And I find it very complex and discouraging tonight to sit here and listen to all of the conversations about legal teams and how did we get there, right? We started in 2007. We've been doing this for 17 years. This worked fantastic for a number of years. I mean, we've had people, Mike, Andrea, Jen, Barb, Cindy, all sorts of people that have been engaged, that have truly believed in what we had done in 2007. And what we're doing today is the best interest of the city at heart. And I don't think that's changed. What I feel has happened is we're not sitting at the table. We're not even talking. We're not being transparent. Instead, we're talking to attorneys. Let's get an attorney out of Minneapolis. Let's get our attorney. Let's have him, negotiate back and forth. Why? I mean, that's my question. It's not necessary. We all want the same outcome. Why can't we talk together, and why can't we move it forward without having to do that? Whether it's emotions that are driving this to another level, or whether it's personal vendettas, I don't know, but it don't matter. When you get to a point and whether you're elected on a council or you're appointed to a board, those things got to be left at the door. We have to be able to communicate. We have to be able to tell each other, you know what, I agree to disagree, but what's in the best interest of Sauk City? Right? I don't think it's getting attorneys involved. Anybody, in all honesty, can say, well, as I see it, or, well, in the past, I've seen it this way. That's legal advice, and I agree with you. People with many years of experience have all kinds of different ways of interpreting the language, because that's really what it is, in my opinion. The language was written to establish the membership of the board. Why would you do that? Okay, I'm going to ask. I want to tell you why. Because the city is a role of collecting taxes. When the city has a responsibility to collect the tax, they also have a responsibility of knowing what that tax is being spent on, knowing where that's going, right? We have a responsibility, the city has a responsibility to know that those dollars are being allocated in the best interest of the city. Having a city appoint somebody to a board, that's not a bad thing. It might be done different in different communities, but keep in mind, how many of people were not appointed that you brought to them? Was there any? I'm just asking. I don't think so, right? Should the city ask questions about a recommendation? Sure, they should about everybody. You know what I mean? They are allocating dollars to you. They're going to want to know. They're going to want to be involved. Do they have a right to repeal the lodging tax? Sure they do. They created the statute. They can do those things. Should they? I can't tell you that because I've been in the discussion on both sides of the table. I don't know if that's the right thing or not, but my mind tells me no. It tells me we're all sitting here talking about all these things we should do out of emotion. And we're not putting 4 tables around in an octagon circle and talking through it. And to me, that's kind of transparent. We want to be transparent. They need to be transparent. Certainly, I know the 501c3 and the CVE board is not a public entity, okay? That's no different than if I created or anybody else here has a 501c. That's your business. It don't have to be public. But I'm pretty sure if we came and knocked on your door and said, hey, board, do you mind if we sit in? You're not going to say no. Right? You're going to say, well, if we can get more input, great. Maybe you can give some ideas we don't have. You're both doing good things, okay? All I can tell you is take a step back. Don't rush to make changes. And go back to what it was originally set up to do, was create what's the betterment of our community through dollars that are being brought to our community that, in all honesty, it's almost $1 million today. A lot of things have been done. It ain't the same as 2007. You know what? It's 17 years later. Wouldn't expect the system to be the same. There has been changes already to bylaws. They can continue to be made, but let's agree to them without having to go down legal avenues and to be able to in a sense, have those differences. I know I'm past my 3 minutes, I'm sorry. But I guess I just ask you to please take a step back and think about the impact from both this side and from your side. You know what? They should have some, they need to have some expectations. And you guys need to sit down and align what they are so you both know. You can both leave that meeting and say, yep, I know what they want. CVB knows what I want. city knows what, what's to expect. So of all, thank you. Thank you both to the both boards. I mean, it's hard conversations, but I think you got a great thing going.
Okay, thank you.
Spread.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Call a third time. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Okay, our public open forum is now closed. We will now proceed with our regular meeting. We will move on to reports and presentations. We did the city audit already. City engineer report, Keith.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Things are really just sort of getting going on the construction season, so I don't have a lot to report. Authors editions, that's just kind of wrapping up. There's some punch list items, things of that nature to get done out there to get that project all taken care of and buttoned up. So that's what we're working on that one. Truck stop storm sewer project, just still going through contracts, getting those signed, easements signed, and shop drawings, those kinds of things. We haven't even scheduled a pre-construction meeting just yet, but things should get going on that in the near future. The 2025-26 CIP project, I'm still working on that. The feasibility report, should be bringing that to you in June is what I'm anticipating at this point in time. I'm a little further behind than I had intended to be. The storm sewer issues on the south end are causing some consternation as to how to deal with that. There's an old 30-inch trunk that goes through there that isn't large enough for us, and trying to figure out what's a solution that we can look for, that we can, do the project and perhaps add on. Maybe it's a sort of a secondary project that takes it the rest of the way, those kinds of things. So that's what I'll be looking for, and you'll be seeing that in the report when I prepare it for you. So that's about all I have. Any questions for you?
Thank you.
Questions? Okay, thank you, Keith.
Thank you.
EDA report, Vicki?
So the EDA board met today in regular session, Wednesday, May 1st. We had a few items on our agenda. We did receive the Sauk Center Chamber of Commerce report from Brent Leeser, who is our representative on that board. We had a couple items of unfinished business. We're continuing to work through the land sale of the 4-acre piece that's part of a 42-acre parcel by Walmart that is going to be the future Tractor Supply. One of the projects that we were working on for the downtown Unger building, I guess the seller of the building now has backed out of that sale. So we'll continue to try to work with him to try to secure somebody to go into that location. Our Lot 2 in the Aerosmith plat, the tentative closing for that is mid-July. So hopefully by that point we will have the release so that we can talk more openly about who that client is. But until they are through their period of due diligence, they have requested confidentiality on that. But as I said, mid-July is the expected closing for that. We have not received a response back from our when we talked about the South Sauk Center Industrial Park offer. I did get back to the real estate agent representing that buyer, and he has not gotten back to me. I understand he may have reached out to some of you council members, but he has not made any contact back with me as the city. Under new business, the author's edition lot sale, I do have that as item 7F on your agenda tonight. This is the 6th lot we're selling of our new edition out there, and we'll be requesting approval for Warren and I to execute those documents. And then the EDA also had some discussion today about at what point, at what percentage of lots sold will we start talking about phase 2 and what phase 2 would look like. And so we will revisit that in the coming months. Having 6 lots already sold, it kind of exceeded our initial goal. So it may speed up when we go to the next phase, but we'll continue to monitor that. Keeping in mind that if we're going to plat it and develop it, we're talking a year, so we want to stay ahead of that. And so my only item of action for the council tonight is 7F, which I'll be requesting the author's edition lot sale approval. Do you have any questions?
Questions, concerns? Okay, we will move on to our action items. 7A, accept the 2023 audit report.
This action is subsequent to the auditor's presentation earlier this evening, and it accepts the audited financial statements for the 2023 as final. So that is what I'm asking you, is to accept those audited financial statements.
Any questions on the audit report that have popped up lately?
Nope.
Okay, Do we have a motion to accept the audited financial statements?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Shellen, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Joe. Any last minute discussion? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7B, approve resolution 2024-40 authorizing sale of forfeited vehicle.
So the Sauk Center Police Department previously secured authorization to offer a forfeited vehicle for sale through the online bidding process. The bid window has closed with the following results. It's a 2008 Buick LaCrosse we sold to Josh Hurdle for $3,555. So we're looking to approve resolution 2024-40 authorizing the sale of this vehicle.
Questions, concerns?
That's an awful good price on a car that old. I make a motion, we accept it right away.
Okay, we have a motion by Diane to approve resolution 2024-40. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Heidi. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7C, approve appointment of firefighters and creation of waiting list.
So you have on your podium tonight, you have an updated firefighter appointment because we did receive a resignation in between the time I did the staff report and now. So pursuant to the advertisements for the open volunteer firefighter positions, including this recent resignation of Jose Diaz, the city accepted applications, selected candidates for interview, and are now recommending they follow appointments to open positions. So we will have 3 open positions. The recommendation is Jordan Thielen, Benjamin Dieters, and Austin Kowski. In addition, in anticipation of upcoming retirements in the coming year, the department is requesting the following appointments to a hiring list. These individuals will also be eligible to attend the firefighter training classes which are offered in the fall. And those are Adam Jensen, Brandon Moritz, Spencer Middendorf, and Lucas Zabel. So we have 2 actions tonight. We're requesting to accept the resignation of Jose Diaz and to approve the appointments to the Sauk Center Fire Department and the creation of the hiring list as presented.
Comments? Questions?
I have a question, Vicki. This Lucas Zabel, is he a relative of the firefighter that was killed?
No.
No? Oh, okay, I see his name on the plaque and the picture. Okay.
We were lucky enough to have 11 people
Yeah.
go for originally 2 positions.
Mhm.
And if you talk to any other fire department around the area, they're lucky if they get anybody. So Sauk Centers should be grateful that we have this many people stepping up. First line of action is, do I have a motion to accept the resignation of Jose Diaz?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Heidi, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Shellen. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor.
I'll abstain.
Oh, you'll abstain, I'm sorry. 4 in favor, 1 abstention. Next action item, approve the appointments to the Sauk Center Fire Department and creation of the hiring list as presented. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Diane, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Heidi. Any discussion?
Just the one question I would have, so, I mean, the anticipation, you said, Vicki, is that the 4 on the hiring list, that there is going to be retirees and there's going to be space for these people? Will,
Yes,
when it is time, will that still come to the council at the
for
time?
appointment, yes.
Okay.
I put them on here because we're trying to sponsor the firefighter training class here in Sauk Center if we get enough members. And so it's a cost savings for us to get that hiring list and to get them into the training. And then when the retirements happen, they'll be officially appointed.
And we've been already kind of gave a heads up that there's 4 of them next March that are all going to retire. So
Yeah.
this way we can have them trained and ready to go by the time that happens. So,
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Aye.
Motion carries 4 in favor, none against, 1 abstention. 7D, approve appointment of campground manager and backup.
So with the opening of Sinclair Lewis Campground, which actually opened today, the city advertised for the campground manager position, and we're recommending the following appointments. We're recommending Mark and Kathy Whitman as the campground managers and Doug and Cindy Railinger as the backup. The Whitmans come with experience working at KOAs, and also they winter in Mesa, and then they do summers, I think, in Nebraska at KOAs, so this is new for them. And the Railingers have been the backup managers for our campground here for several years. So what we're looking to do is appoint the 2024 campground managers as presented.
Questions?
Just for a future note, if we have to, in the nearer distant, how were these campground managers found? Through what source of advertising or website?
Actually, the Doug and Cindy Railinger actually passed through here in 2019 camping, and we got, that's how we met them. And Mark and Kathy Whitman actually camp with a local person here in town, and they recommended them. Actually gave the name to my husband at the school. He brought the name into me. You know, it was just kind of a way to, so it was word of mouth actually on that one.
Okay.
We did advertise in Work Camper, Facebook, and then it turned out that it was just word of mouth.
Just
that
came
made it
together.
happen. So,
Okay.
Okay, any other comments?
Are they ready to get,
So the Railingers are here today, and the Whitmans will be here prior to Memorial Day.
Okay.
We had negotiated that up front due to some appointments they already had scheduled.
Okay, any other questions, comments?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a motion to approve the appointment?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Diane, do I have a second?
second?
Second by Joe. And that is for both campground manager and
Right,
backup
yes,
manager.
yes, yes.
Okay, just clarification.
Mhm.
Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries, 5 in favor, none against. 7E, approve summer seasonal employment appointment.
So the summer seasonal employee who has cleaned the park restrooms and watered flowers in 2023 has opted not to return. So Public Works Supervisor Ben Klink spoke with our winter seasonal employee from the arena, who is Patrick Gonzalez, about working in the summer approximately 3 hours per day to perform these duties. So what he would be doing is going to all the different parks and the different restrooms, keeping them clean, watering the flowers on the downtown flower baskets and that, and it's about a 3 hour a day. He does work at the school, and so this kind of fits in real good with that position. So we're looking to appoint Patrick Gonzalez as a summer seasonal employee for the Parks Department.
Questions? Concerns? He has worked for us before up at the
Yeah.
hockey
At the
arena
arena.
too, so. Do I have a motion to appoint Patrick Gonzalez?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Shellen, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Heidi. Any other discussion? Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries, 5 in favor, none against. 7F, approve resolution 2024-41, authorizing sale of property.
So the city has received a purchase agreement for Lot 1, Block 4 of Author's Edition. The sale of the property requires city approval for the mayor and the city administrator to execute the closing documents. So we're looking to approve Resolution 2024-41, authorizing execution of the purchase agreement and the closing documents for the sale of Lot 1, Block 4, Author's Edition.
Questions?
Remind me how many are left?
Pardon me?
After this, remind me how many are left?
Well, there's 19 total,
Okay.
so we sell 6, so we still have 13.
Got it, yep.
Any other comments, questions? Do I have a motion to approve resolution 2024-41?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Diane, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Heidi. Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries,
I'll
5.
abstain on that one, too.
Okay, 4 in favor. You're so quiet, I can't hear your ayes or nays, so.
I don't see.
4 in favor, none against, 1 abstention. 7G, City Code Section 112 lodging tax.
And as you know, this relates to the CVB bylaws amendment, and many people have spoken about it tonight. I will kind of highlight what we went through. The CVB at a special meeting on April 9th amended its bylaws to remove the appointing authority of the city to its board, with the CVB selecting its own membership. The bylaws state they may include a representative of the city, and I understand Pam said tonight that she's recommending that that be changed to shall, which has a different connotation. I haven't got that through the legal side yet, but will may include a representative of the city. This would be at the discretion of their board. This conflicts with our city code. When the city council first enabled the lodging tax in 2007, the appointing authority to the CVB was included in the ordinance, the same as other boards in the city, like the PUC, the HRA, et cetera. So we have a conflict between the bylaws and the city code. The CVB bylaws and the city code, they were amended 2 times. We first did it in 2007, then they were amended in 2013, and we worked with the CVB amend again in 2018. This would be the 3rd amendment. As Brad Kirchhoff mentioned, we became aware of it through a letter from an attorney, and I think that kind of set the stage a little bit that he was referring to. The board's rationale for the recent change is they felt the city was trying to execute control over their board and that appointing to the board was a violation of Minnesota statute. Our city attorney disagreed with this interpretation. He sent a letter to the CVB's board requesting what specific, or CVB's attorney requesting which specific statute he was basing this interpretation on. He did not provide that back to us at that time, at this point. In addition, they felt the city was trying to control them by some members questioning the funds, and these are all things that you've heard tonight. As you know, we have provided $833,000 and some change to the CVB and lodging tax collections from hotels, short-term rentals, and St. Clair Lewis Campground. And I believe we've touched on this, that when tax dollars are provided to individuals or entities in the city or any other governmental unit for a specific purpose, there's expectation that the purpose will be met. For example, if we give money to a business to build a building and create employees, then we expect to see that to happen, and it's kind of that governmental expectation when tax dollars are spent. So city councils in the past have requested this type of transparency on how the tax dollars are given to the CVB as it relates to their mission. We do get an annual report from the CVB. It doesn't give us a lot of information on how it's spent other than the total dollars in, the total dollars out. Not statistics or anything to determine whether those goals of creating conventions and events and tourism have occurred. I think there's a little bit of maybe a disconnect there, that we're not receiving the type of information that the council feels is necessary to do that. However, this is not related to the issue at hand, was the change to the bylaws. This is really why we were talking tonight. And so as it relates to the change in the bylaws, we have 3 options that we can consider. Either we can continue with no change, don't do anything, but the CVB has the expectation that we will follow their bylaws versus our city code. So that's where the disconnect is that they're not the same. We can amend our code to match their bylaws and remove appointing authority. Under this scenario, you know, they would choose whether or not a council member could be, and as Pam said tonight, they're going to change that to shall. I don't know how that would affect the appointment, but that's something we would have to look at. And of course, your third option is always out there, that is on there, that a repeal of section 112 of the city code. Most of the people spoke tonight about that repeal of the lodging tax, which is your third option that you can do here if you choose to do so. I have all of it laid out for you to discuss and make a decision. But like I said, you have those 3 options. You can do nothing. You can pass an ordinance so that our city code matches their city code or their bylaws, or you can pass that final ordinance which would repeal that section of the code itself. Do you have any questions for me?
Questions? Concerns?
I don't have any questions, but I'm going to kind of go through comments as a little bit of my research as we went along with these conversations after the change. So I'm going to provide a little bit of background on the statute, some of the email communication which Stacy covered, as well as my interpretation of those things and research I came across of other organizations and such. So the statute in question that was cited was 465.717, creation of corporations. A county, home, rural, charter city, statutory city, town, school district, or other political subdivision, including a joint powers entity operating under section 471.59, may not create a corporation, whether for-profit or not-for-profit, unless explicitly authorized to do so by law. That is the state statute as it reads on the Minnesota statute website. Mr. Plunkett's email stated, Minnesota statute section 465.717 prohibits a government entity from creating a nonprofit corporation without express approval from the Minnesota legislature. It seems to me that the ability of the city council to appoint and remove all or even a majority of members of the CVB board constitutes too much control over the CVB and is a violation of Minnesota statute section 465.717. The basis for Minnesota statute 465.717 was to prohibit government agencies from using a nonprofit corporation to carry on activities which the governmental activity was not permitted to directly do. My layman's interpretation of the statement, it seems to me that the ability of the city to appoint, remove all members of the CBB is too much control. It seems to me makes it indicate that this is an opinion of the attorney and is not judicial fact or law. Nor in the statute as it reads, for the creation of a corporation, does it state a city cannot have control. This was the interpretation of our city attorney, Adams, and in layman's read, I do not see any language related to control. Attorney Adams, in his letter to Mr. Plunkett dated April 1st, 2024, asked for statutes or cases interpreting the statute as such applying to control of a corporation from Attorney Plunkett and received no such documentation. Based on that and what I interpret as an opinion of Mr. Plunkett, I do not agree with this assessment. As further evidence, I reviewed an agreement for professional services from the City of Brooklyn Park, Minnesota with the North Metro Minneapolis Convention and Visitors Bureau. Their statement language in that agreement regarding city representation. The Board of Directors of the Tourism Bureau shall consist of a majority of members that are appointed by member cities, and each city shall appoint at least one elected official from the member city, one staff member of the member city, and one representative from a business paying the lodging tax from each member city. The Tourism Bureau should amend its bylaws by October 1st. I skip their, details there. Additionally, in that email from Mr. Plunkett, he states the tourism tax, Minnesota statute section 469.190, contemplates the city keeping 5% of the lodging tax revenue and using the remaining 95% to fund a convention or tourism bureau will promote tourism in the city. By controlling the CVB, the city is essentially maintaining 100% control over the tax revenues. Stating by controlling the operations of the CVB and a CVB is essentially, or the city, is maintaining control over 100% of the lodging tax revenues. I'm not quite sure what that statement is intended to mean, that if it's not legally permissible for us to do so. The statute regarding lodging tax says 95% of the gross proceeds from the tax shall be imposed, shall fund a CVB for the purpose of marketing or promoting the city or town as a tourist or convention center. Does not state the CVB cannot be organized within the city government. Just that the 95% collected from the tax, lodging tax must be used for that purpose. An example of this would be the city of Woodbury, who recently created a destination marketing organization. From their business plan, it reads, the DMO would be an entity within city organizational structure and would not be operated by an external organization or as a separate nonprofit organization. Right from their website in November 2022, the City Council voted to enact a 3% lodging tax on most Woodbury hotels stays beginning in April 2023. Per state law, these resources can be used only for attracting visitors to the community. The City Council will oversee the funds. Additionally, the City of St. Joe has their convention bureau, and their purpose states as follows. The board was established for the purpose of making recommendations to the Economic Development Authority on expenditures of lodging tax funds received in accordance with Minnesota statutes. So based upon that argument there, my interpretation would be that the city can have an entity within their structure and control 100% of the lodging tax. It simply means that 95% of that would have to be earmarked exclusively for the purposes of tourism and marketing, as stated in the statute, not for general operating expenses of the city. As it relates to the CVB's argument on control, the argument of that the city council, mayor, or city administrator are controlling the CVB simply by appointing members to the board is not one I agree with. The CVB board approves all bills, advertising expenses, etc. With one of 7 to 8 voting members based on the current membership, the city representative would not yield any ability to control the decision of the board. In my 5+ years on the council, I've had very little communication nor input, or been asked for input on any CVB activity. As it goes back to the argument of control in the CVB board, here is information from the Roseau CVB regarding bylaw amendments. Section 1, these bylaws shall be brought forward for adoption or amendment by 2/3 vote of the board of directors. Section 2, after adoption of amended bylaws, the board of directors, the amended bylaws must be submitted to the City Council of Roseau for approval. Upon approval from the City of Roseau, the president shall notify membership, pending the bylaws, and call for a vote of the membership. So clearly, this level of control exists within the state of Minnesota. Unless all these cities are violating the statute that Mr. Plunkett referenced, we are not operating illegally. As it relates to the bylaw amendments provided to the cities, I have significant concerns related to the amendments. By having only the directors select the other directors to the board, whether real or perceived, it would create the opportunity for cronyism and the ability to create a majority vote to serve the interests of the group or director and not fulfill the purpose of the organization. Additionally, having no geographical limitations is questionable, as the board could appoint someone from anywhere in the state. I'd ask whether this is in the best interest of promoting Sauk Center. The reference to no less than 4 directors who are representative of lodging and hospitality does not state that these representatives have to be from the Sauk Center lodging and hospitality industry. This language is ambiguous and could be open for exploitation. Finally, and I know the board has indicated they would change this, the fact that one director may be a person who is a representative of the city council is a little bit disappointing, in the sense that the city of Sauk Center is a payer of the lodging tax through the Sinclair Lewis campground. Now, as it relates to if there's a personal agenda or dislike for an individual counselor, and the same goes from the city side, if there's feelings toward the CVB director or any CVB board members, I think it's time to move on and work together to fulfill the intended purposes of the lodging tax dollars to market and promote tourism in Sauk Center. Before I wrap up, I do want to touch on a Facebook comment that was posted with an inquiry related to, if Visit Sauk Center is defunded, who is going to promote our town. And as it relates to the 990 filings for both the entities, so the CVB's mission on their 990 tax filing states, their mission is to assist visitors and promote Sauk Center. Within our town, we have a Chamber of Commerce whose mission on their 990 is promote the city of Sauk Center. So both very similar. So that would be somebody who could promote our town as it relates to that question if the action were to go the way of a repeal potentially. I'm going to withhold on my comments on my position as it relates to the 3 options until the rest of the council has their opportunity to speak or give their opinions, and then I will share those at that point. So,
okay. Thank you, Joe, for your due diligence. Thank you. It's good information, I think. Is there anyone else that wants to speak or has a comment?
I had a few comments. Joe just totally blindsided me with those, so I have to rewind a little bit and work through what I already had questions about. Ultimately, my overall feeling of this conversation, one was, why did it have to get this far? Which I know Brad had already brought that up to public open forum. In my opinion, these are boards that should be operating with level heads, with open communication, without finding somebody to back your opinion, to take your side, doing things behind people's back, spending within the means when your entire board knows it. That is, and also not screaming or causing tears at a board meeting, I think is an important aspect of a board that functions well. So, setting emotions aside, as I said, this didn't need to go this far. It was never a conversation about the board elected, the board member elected. It was about what do they bring to the table. It wasn't specific to that person for any other reason other than we're doing our due diligence by questioning somebody's outside influence on an inside board, if that makes sense. And the fact that it escalated so quickly, but also the comment made, let's work together. There's been effort by board members to make this work before getting this far. And to my knowledge, it was shut down. So here we are.
One thing is that the mayor and the council have always appointed a representative to each and every board, not just the CVB, but every board, park board, planning and zoning, all of them. Senior Center Board of Directors, Housing Redevelopment Authority. There's one of us on every one of those boards. We're not going to change that. That's insane.
Shall we? Put you on the spot.
I know. Well, I guess even in, I appreciate some of the research Joe brought to the table as well. And I mean, looking at some other cities and how they approach, I think I saw like 4 or 5 different cities and how they handle their CVB boards, and all of them were extremely different. Some of them had voting members and non-voting members, and appointed by the CVB alone, and appointed by the city, and certain members were only appointed by the city, and certain members were appointed by the CVB. So, I mean, it was drastically different across the board. I guess to me, I still feel like there's a door number 4. I still feel like there's a way to thread the needle here and see if there's a way to, I don't know. Maybe that's just wishful thinking, I guess. I don't know.
Okay. Well, one thing is it's kind of funny from one appointment, how it can tear everything apart. All we did was postpone the appointment of one member for 2 weeks, and right away, it turned into, if you got questions, you get a hold of me. We're not doing our due diligence. I didn't save the email that I got from Pam, but it was basically, I took it as an attack that we don't have the right to question who she brings to the table as a member. So my email back was basically, and you can say maybe feelings, but I have every right, the council has every right to question anybody that comes in. We do it with every board.
Yes, we do.
We don't control their funding. One person, like Joe said, one person doesn't do it. In fact, actually, Sean could be the representation for the campground, so it wouldn't even be considered a council member. We went through that. We all of a sudden receive a letter from this attorney, Mr. Plunkett. Didn't come to any of us at City Hall. It went straight to our city attorney, which then, once it goes to our city attorney, he's responsible to answer that. So he does. Well, that's taxpayer money that probably got spent on legal fees for an answer for what this guy brought up when none of us were ever approached about it. That email came from our city attorney to Vicky, and then we got to find out about it after the fact. I don't think that's the proper way to do business.
Yeah.
Our city attorney said, due to past operations of how we've been doing things, we have every legal right to do it this way. Who are we gonna believe? Are we gonna believe our own city attorney, which is at a huge firm, or someone that we have never heard of before that comes in and says, oh, by state statute, here we go. And, you know, it's kind of funny that 2 people said we needed to work together. Well, I don't think working together is going and getting a hold of an attorney and have them send us a letter saying we're illegal. That's not working together. Maybe everybody's got a different opinion of what working together is, but to me, it's not that.
Warren, how much of the tax money that we've collected is being spent on attorney fees? I think that's misappropriation of funds in this case. This is crazy.
You know,
Waste of money.
all because of one appointment that was delayed 2 weeks
And was still appointed.
And was still appointed, exactly.
and still was appointed. We've never had a problem with that.
And we
And
never,
then to fall back on the Facebook post that they had disgruntled members on their own board, well, that automatically tells me that board isn't as solid as they think they are. Basically, to me, if you got people that are going against other people's beliefs, you now have a working board. We've got this council here that if we agreed to everything 100%, we wouldn't even need to have votes. We'd just go ahead and do it. That's not a working board. People have the right to disagree. And from what I understand, it's not going down that road with that board, and now it's been pushed into us to make a decision. I don't know if anyone else here has anything to add as far as this, but we've got the three options.
So I'll just add my opinion as it relates to the proposed options before us. Option number one, doing nothing is, that's not an acceptable option for me. The ordinance was established a tax on how to appoint members. That was part of it as how it would occur. The CVB's amendment is not in compliance, and so I'm not of the opinion that, have an ordinance that we're not going to follow on our books.
Right.
So that, to me, that's not an option. Option two, amending our ordinance to remove the council's appointment authority is not acceptable either. Notion that 5 members of a non-elected board is going to dictate to the duly elected members of the city of Sauk Center and the council on how we should operate is not an action I'm going to support either. Option number three, I'm not inclined to actually support that either at this point. I believe that'd be a knee-jerk reaction on our part to the decisions about the CVB. There's a reason the council in 2007 implemented the lodging tax to fund the CVB, and I'd like to see if we can have a discussion with the leadership of the CVB and the council, whether it be 2 members or 1 or however we do that, and engage their board to find a solution that's gonna work as far as it relates to the appointments, operation, reporting. Obviously, I touched on that, the City of Brooklyn Park, their agreement was 8 pages long, and the specificity of that was, quite incredible. That, that would probably seem more like control, so I don't know whether that's an option or not for the leadership, but that's a question we can answer. So again, I'd like to see us, find a way to meet and have that conversation. That's up to their board. If it's a take it or leave it, these are our proposals and these are bylaws. This is what you're going to get. Well, if that's the case, then there's no point in continuing the conversation. We repeal the tax and they can go to the lodging and figure it out from there. But I'd like to see us work together. My point would be, I've heard option 4 out there to sit down and work together, at which point I think is the best route to go. So that being said, I'd actually make a motion that we table any decision on this for at least a month, to give us the opportunity to have council representation, speak with the CVB leadership representation, and see if we can find a solution to continue this organization and working together in collaboration. And if not, then we'll make the decision that is best deemed at that time. So that's my motion.
I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to table this for 1 month. Any other discussion? First thing is who's going to sit in on that discussion. We're not going to just have full council sit in front of their full board. It's going to be 2 people that can keep their feelings in check.
Well, I guess from.
And I'm not guaranteeing that that's going to be me.
Yeah, no.
I'll be honest.
Obviously, having done some research and some on this background, I'd be willing to be one of those council representatives in those conversations. I don't know if Shallon being the actual city council representation on that board would be another one, or if we prefer somebody else. My thought would be myself and Shallon potentially.
If the group
but
is
again,
game, I'm game to have that discussion with Joe.
Unless somebody else wants to take my spot and feel a need there.
One of the, maybe I shouldn't say it, but I know there's 4 of us sitting up here that have worked with that board.
Mm-hmm.
And all 4 of us have been frustrated to the point of no return every time we sat on it. Because in my opinion, it's their way or the highway. And I don't know if it's going to change. So just adding that.
I don't think that's a reason for us not to try. I think everything is worth an effort if it's an open discussion expressed by us as the desire of us proving that we are willing to make an effort and not just shut it down completely to prove a point. I think it's worth the effort, and if Joe's willing to sit, and if I know, Shallon, you've tried to let them hear a fourth option before getting to this point already, but if together you guys can be a dream team, that would be great.
You kind of need to pass the motion before you, like, select a team.
Right.
Okay,
Well,
just
it'd be
don't
based
forget you
on
have that
that.
on the table. Okay.
So Joe made the motion, you seconded it,
Yes, I
right?
did.
And Shallon seconded it to table it. Is there any other discussion? We'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Abstentions? Motion carries 4 in favor, 1 against, no abstentions. Unfinished business. We don't have any. We don't have any new business. That then brings us to our consent agenda. We have our consent, our schedule of claims, unpaid claims of $81,078.54. Total of $81,078.54. We have resolution number 2024-42, accepting contributions of $167.07 from this men's card playing group to be allocated to the senior center, $200 from Terrell Brooks to be allocated to the fire department. And on behalf of the city, I want to acknowledge those contributions. Thank you. We have a request from Jessica Mossman, doing business as Crazy J's Bar and Grill, for temporary extension of premise permit and alley closure for an outdoor band on June 8th, 2024, from 8 p.m. to 12:30. The alley closure request is for the area behind Crazy J's and Sauk Center Herald. Gambling application for exempt permit request from the Knights of Columbus, Council 4863, for bingo and a raffle for July 31st, August 4th, 2024, at the Stearns County Fairgrounds. Do I have a motion to accept the consent calendar as presented?
Motion to accept.
Motion by Diane. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Heidi. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Informational items.
I have a couple informational items. Middle Sauk Water Festival is next week, May 9th. It was going to be in Melrose Park, but they still have underwater, and so it is going to be, it's going to be at the Civic Arena instead. If any of you want to participate, volunteer, whatever, feel free. Just contact the office. We'll let you know exactly times. We'll bring about 400 fourth graders into the arena, and it'll be havoc because it's very loud in there, but they have a very good time, and they learn about all things water. The second thing, Preston Auditor and the Police Department will advance to step 3 of the pay scale today, which is May 1st. The bid opening for the South Sauk Center Industrial Park soil removal is May 14th at 11 a.m. That's to remove the pile of dirt on lot 1, block 2. And the citywide scrap metal and hazardous waste cleanup day, this is where you can bring your scrap metal, your old paint, and that type of thing up to the Civic Arena on May 8th from 10 to 2 in the Civic Arena parking lot. I did get a communication from the county. They want to do a second one in August for the hazardous waste. We haven't confirmed that yet, but hopefully everybody can make this one. If not, we'll have an option for a second one in August. And that's all I have.
Okay. Do I have any questions about any of the informational? Okay, that brings us to the end of our agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Joe. Do I have a
I'll
second?
second.
Second by Diane. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Meeting adjourned.